She left me months ago. The relationship ended badly. We haven't spoken since. And yet every time I close my eyes, I can see her face. Every time I hear a song with a certain beat, I remember dancing with her at a club. And every time I smell perfume, it takes me back to the day we first met. Even though she is no longer in my life, it feels like she still lives inside my brain. I thought this was normal. I thought everyone experienced this when they miss someone. Then one day I read an article about phantom senses, a psychological phenomenon in which our memories are triggered by the five senses, even though the person we are thinking of is not physically present. According to statistics, only a small percentage of you who watch these videos are actually subscribed. If you're not subscribed yet and you enjoy what you see, do consider hitting the subscribe button. This encourages the platform's algorithm in promoting more of our mental health content. Thanks for being here. Let's begin. What is phantom sense? To answer this question, I want to start with a story. Back in 2017, a man from England named Harry Street accidentally walked into a pub where he had spent many nights drinking with his friends before he died. He stood there in shock for a moment until he realized that he wasn't actually seeing his friend. It had just been a figment of his imagination, a hallucination brought on by his grief. Heartbroken, he left the bar and went home. That night, he couldn't sleep. So he got on Facebook and started scrolling through old photos of him and his friend, until he found a picture of them standing outside a train station. As soon as he saw it, he felt compelled to go there. He didn't know why, but something told him that he needed to go to the train station, so he got in his car and drove over. When he arrived, he parked his car and walked onto the platform, and that's when he saw it, the ghost of his dead friend waving at him from the other side of the tracks. Of course, it wasn't really his friend. It was just another trick of his mind. But this was too much for Harry to bear. He was so distraught that he threw himself in front of the next train and was killed instantly. This may seem like a sad and bizarre story, but it illustrates how powerful phantom senses can be. They can bring back memories that we thought we had forgotten. They can make us feel like we are actually seeing or hearing or smelling the people we love, even if they are no longer with us. So what exactly are these phantom senses? How do they work, and why should you care? These questions will be answered in today's video. To understand what's happening, we need to look at how our brains process sensory information. When we experience something like the smell of freshly cut grass, for example, our brain takes in the information and stores it in our memory. This is called encoding. Later on, when we encounter a similar stimulus, like the smell of freshly cut grass again, our brain recognizes it and retrieves the memory associated with it. This is called retrieval. However, sometimes our brain can retrieve memories that are not related to the current stimulus. For example, if we smell the freshly cut grass on a hot summer day, our brain might also retrieve memories of playing baseball in the park as a kid, even though those memories are not directly related to the smell of grass. This is called false memory. Now, what happens in cases like these is that our brain starts making connections between different sensory experiences. Like the smell of freshly cut grass might trigger a memory of playing baseball in the park, even though the two experiences are not directly related. Our brain is basically creating new memories by combining old ones. These new memories are called semantic memories. For example, the semantic memory of baseball might be encoded in response to the sight of a baseball bat and the sound of a ball hitting it. When you smell freshly cut grass, your brain might retrieve the semantic memory of baseball because the smell of grass is a contextual cue. So in a way, semantic memories help us make sense of the world around us by providing context for our experiences. However, semantic memories can also cause problems. For example, if we meet someone who smells like freshly cut grass and we have a semantic memory of playing baseball, we might mistakenly believe that the person we just met is a baseball player. In this case, our brain is making a false connection between two pieces of information that are not actually related. Now, this is essentially what happens in cases of phantom senses. We experience a sensory stimulus like a smell or a sound, and our brain retrieves a memory associated with that stimulus. But the memory is not of the actual person we are thinking of. Instead, it is a semantic memory of that person that has been created by our brain. Basically, our brain is trying to make sense of the world around us, and it uses our memories to do this. For example, let's say we smell a certain perfume, and it reminds us of our ex. Our brain doesn't actually smell our ex, but it retrieves a memory of the perfume that she used to wear. The problem is that our brain doesn't know the difference between a real experience and a remembered one, so it treats them both the same way. This is why we can feel like we are actually seeing or hearing or smelling the people we love, even if they are not physically present. There are many documented cases of people experiencing phantom senses. In one case, a woman named Mary lost her husband, John, in a car accident. She was devastated and couldn't understand why he had to die. Every time she closed her eyes, she could see his face. Every time she heard a song on the radio, it reminded her of the day they first met. And every time she smelled his favorite cologne, it took her back to the day he proposed to her. She thought it was just a part of grieving, and it would eventually go away. But it never did. Years later, she was still experiencing phantom senses. She had learned to cope with them, but she didn't know what was causing them. Then one day, she read an article about phantom senses and everything made sense. She wasn't going crazy. It wasn't a curse, it was just her brain trying to make sense of the world around her. Another case is that of a man named Peter. He lost his son David in the war. He was so heartbroken that he couldn't function. Every time he saw a group of children playing, it reminded him of David. Every time he heard a song on the radio, it took him back to the day David was born. And every time he smelled his favorite cologne, it brought back memories of the last time they had talked. Peter thought he was losing his mind. But after reading an article about phantom senses, he understood that he wasn't alone. There were other people who experienced the same thing. These are just two cases of many. Thousands of people around the world have experienced phantom senses. Some of them have even claimed to see the ghosts of their loved ones. Now, this may sound unbelievable, but there is scientific evidence to support it. A study published in the journal Neuron found that when people experience a sensory stimulus, like the smell of a particular perfume, for example, their brain activates a network of regions that are involved in processing that stimulus. The researchers used magnetic resonance imaging to measure brain activity while participants were exposed to different odors. They found that the same brain regions were activated whether the participants were smelling the odor for the first time or if they had smelled it before and had a memory of it. This suggests that our brain processes sensory information in the same way whether we are experiencing something for the first time or retrieving a memory of it. So in a way, our brain doesn't really know the difference between a real experience and a remembered one. It just stores all of our memories together in a big library. And whenever we encounter a sensory stimulus, it goes to the library to find the most relevant memories and brings them back to us. Sometimes it brings back the wrong memories, but we don't usually notice it. We just go along with it. Now, what does all of this mean for us? Well, it means that our brains are constantly making connections between different pieces of information. It also means that we should be careful about the information we take in, because it could end up being connected to something we don't want it to. For example, if we meet someone and they smell like a certain perfume, we should be careful about the information we share with them. Otherwise, that information could be connected to that person, and we wouldn't want that. Also, it means that we should cherish the memories we have of our loved ones, because they will live on in our brains forever. Even if they are gone, their memories will live on. Now I want to turn it over to you. Have you ever experienced phantom senses? What was that like for you? Or if you haven't, what do you think about this topic? Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with others. Until next time.